Sales conversion rate, how to close 100%. In this video, I'm going to help you understand why you're not getting some of the sales that you should be making on your sales calls and exactly what to do about it. Now, we've trained thousands of people across many different coaching and consulting niches over the last 5 years, and we are giving you great content to help you improve your sales. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, like this video if you find it useful, and comment below with any questions or thoughts that you've got after watching this video. All right, sales conversion rate, how to close 100% of your sales calls. Now, I know that's a pretty bold claim that I've just made there, but I think it's one worth reviewing a little bit, and that is that there's 3 things that it takes to close 100% of your sales calls. And first of all, let me actually explain what I mean by closing 100% of your sales calls. See, the reality is that at the end of every call, you should have a pretty good idea of whether or not the person you're talking to is truly ready to buy. If they believe everything that you've said, if there's a level of trust that's been built, if they're a good fit for what you do, especially when we're here, most of our clients are in the coaching consulting space. It's your job to be the expert. And so by the end of a call, whether you're a sales rep working for a coach or you're the actual business owner or coach yourself, it's your job to actually understand where the person is at and to actually get them to the place where they're excited about creating whatever it is that they want to create. More success in their business, more leads, weight loss, finding the relationship of their dreams, whatever it is, it's your job to really dig deep with them and understand that prospect at a deep level. And at the end of the call, if they're not already there where they're like, man, that level of trust has been established, they absolutely have the problem, it's imperative that they solve it, they're in a financial position where making that investment does make sense for them, right? You've qualified all of that stuff and you understand the prospect, right? Then you're only going to be making an offer to the people that are at that place. And you can close 100% of those people that you actually offer to. Now, the reality is that you're not going to close 100% of every single call that you talk to, but there is that ability that, hey, if I make an offer to somebody, I know they're going to enroll because I've built that level of trust and I have that level of understanding with the person that I'm talking to, that when I make that offer, they know it's coming from a place of genuine care and they genuinely trust my recommendation. And as long as there's not some totally unforeseen thing that they just didn't share, which rarely happens because we're doing a good job uncovering what's really going on, then chances are that they're going to make that investment. And you really can close 100% of the people that you offer to when you get really, really good and you hone this skill. So there are basically, as I see it, 3 steps to actually closing 100% of the people that you offer to, right? Step 1 is actually stop trying to close everyone, okay? I cannot stress this enough. You absolutely have to stop trying to close everybody. There are some people who are going to get on the phone who would be willing to buy from you who you shouldn't sell. And when you make that distinction that you won't sell to somebody, even if they've got their credit card out ready to give you money because you don't think it's the right thing for them to do, you think that they need something else maybe first before they buy from you, or there's a better solution out there for them, you need to be willing to refer them to that better solution. Now, if you always feel that way, there's probably some mindset work we need to do around your offer, or maybe some improvement we need to do around the fulfillment. If you're a salesperson, maybe a better understanding of product knowledge, whatever. But if you really truly never ever feel that way on a call, that there's never anybody you talk to who just isn't a good fit, who's ready to pay, who you wouldn't take money from, then chances are you're missing something. And we don't want to be somebody with what I call commission breath, where we're more focused on making the sale and making the commission than we are on serving the client, okay? So stop trying to sell everyone. Actually take the time to focus on serving the client rather than selling them, and then understanding your prospects. So those are the 3 things we've talked a little bit about. Stop trying to sell everybody. Now let's talk a little bit about service, okay? It's funny because every time that I go to a sales conference somewhere or I'm asked to speak at an event or something, every time the first thing I do is I come out and I say, hey, what do you think about when I ask you about sales? and everyone raises their hand and they just say all sorts of crazy things like, oh, it sucks, it's awful, I feel pushy, it's rude, it's mean, it's wrong, it's greedy. Like, those are the kinds of responses that I tend to get. And if you think of sales that way, you need to stop, because sales is really about service, right? Our job is to understand the prospect at a deep level, where they're at, where they're coming from, what they need, why they need it, and help see the path that they can't see to solving their problem. You need to be an expert at how they're going to go from where they are to where they want to be, right? And you don't necessarily, right? You might be working for a coach selling their product or offer, and the coach is going to be the one doing that work with them. But you need to understand the high-level milestones that it takes to achieve that for the client. So it's really important that we focus on service. And a really good story that I love sharing, and maybe I've shared this in another video, so forgive me if I have, but when I first started out in sales, I worked at Florsheim Shoes, and I sold shoes, and I would have people come in, and Florsheim shoes are great shoes, but at the time, they really weren't the best for people with a more narrow foot, and sometimes you would have somebody come in, it just wasn't the right fit. Down the hall in the mall where I was working, there was another company that was better suited for that type of foot. I learned that very quickly. My boss got so mad at me because I would refer people, when they weren't a good fit, I would refer them out to that other store. And it was funny because the very first time that I did that several times, and it actually paid off very well, because I would get referrals. Like, people would literally tell people, go see Peter at Florsheim in the mall, because he'll tell you exactly what you need. And if you need to go somewhere else, he'll tell you to do that. So people who wouldn't have even come into the store were coming into the store to talk to me. And oftentimes I would make sales that I wouldn't have made because they came in to see me, because I focused on service over sales. And so the first time that happened, my boss got really mad at me, and then I said, hey, you watch. And lo and behold, that guy brought in a friend a couple weeks later, and that guy bought 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, right? So I would have sold 1 pair of shoes to an unhappy customer that a few months later would have never bought Florsheim shoes again. Instead, I ended up selling 2 or 3 pairs of shoes by turning him away, because I focused on service over sales. So it's really important that you focus on service over sales. And then that relates very closely, and I've already said it, to the third thing, which is understanding your prospect, right? Whatever it is that you're selling, you need to understand your prospect on a deep level. In fact, especially in the coaching and consulting space, you need to understand your prospect in some ways better than they understand themselves. And what I mean by that is, you're talking to people just like them on the phone every day. You're helping those people solve their problems and invest in a solution that's going to get them to where they want to go. So you have that depth of knowledge by being on the phone with lots of people with a similar experience. You've seen people who have gone through this process, who've bought from you, who've then actually gotten the result. So you understand the prospect's problem and where they're at and what it's going to take to solve it better than they do. So you want to make sure that before you make an offer to any prospect, that you do understand their situation. You understand where they're at, where they're coming from, why it matters, how it's affecting them, how it feels to be where they're at, right? That's true. Sales isn't about sales at all. Look, in today's day and age, we don't listen to each other. Most of us are talking, and then when we stop talking, we allow the other person to talk, but we're just waiting for our chance to respond. We're not listening to what they're saying. I have seen this time and time again when I go out to networking events and other places. I see salespeople going into the room, and they're just, they're really nice, and they're gregarious, and they're friendly, but they're not listening. And people know if you're not listening. They know if you don't care. They can sense it. And they're not going to buy from you if they don't feel like you care. And the number one way you can show that you care is to listen, is to do something that no one else in their life probably does at a level that you have an opportunity to demonstrate, right? To truly listen and ask questions until you understand at a deep level where they're at and why they haven't gotten the result they've gotten, to then help them get the result by then walking them through the process of why they've been stuck, what's been in their way, what we're going to do to fix it. And that again goes back to having that, that product knowledge as well. Okay, so understanding your product, Stop trying to sell everyone. Make sure that you're serving. Now, part of that service is also understanding your product knowledge well enough that you can help relate to the prospect how they can get the result. But I can't stress enough that if you want to close a high rate of people, then what you really want to do is get to the place where you know at the end of every sales call whether or not the person you're talking to is ready to buy, and don't make the offer to that person unless you've gotten them to that place. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean, now sometimes you may get to the end of the call and you haven't gotten them to that place, and it doesn't mean they're a bad fit, doesn't mean they shouldn't buy. It probably means you didn't do your job to the fullest extent that was possible in order to not only make that sale, but to serve that person and help them get the result. Okay, if you found this valuable and you want to get more content like this, click the subscribe button so you get notified by the little notification bell in the corner. Make sure to like this video if you found it useful, and of course, share this with somebody else that you think might find it useful. And if you would like more content, more free training, more stuff like this, join our free Facebook group. You can click the link in the description box right below this video, and we'll get you in and provide you lots of free content to help you continue to improve your sales, as well as begin to build a sales team for your business.